media at all questioning the president's competency?
Well, I suppose you could go all the way back to Woodrow Wilson, who suffered a stroke while out campaigning in Colorado on behalf of the League of Nations, and his condition, which was perilous, was covered up for more than a year as his wife was effectively the president of the United States. But what's happening here, Leland, is this. You said rightly that his staff tries to insulate him from the media. They don't insulate him nearly enough. I think it is simply malpractice to put the president out in a situation such as the town hall with Anderson Cooper. Now, the performative aspect of the presidency is important, but it's not all important. Mr. Biden can be a perfectly fine president without mastering the skills of standing on his feet and nimbly answering questions. But we've known for more than 30 years with Mr. Biden that he's often garrulous without being fluent. And this is what the public has seen thanks to graphic journalism. They've seen incompetence at the Kabul airport. They're seeing chaos on the southern borders. And now on top of that, they see confusion written on the countenance of the president, who, as you said, just made a terrific blunder with regard to foreign policy, dealing with a nuclear power that is an adversary. So this is definitely a sobering moment for the American people. None of us takes pleasure in noting this.
None of us do. It's interesting when you talk to sort of the diehard Republicans about this. We had a Republican congressman on a couple of weeks ago who was talking about how the president needs to take a mental test. I said, okay, well, does that make Kamala Harris a better choice for you? Would you be happier if she became president? Are Republicans a little handcuffed in this situation of questioning the president too much, because then they have to answer the question about Kamala Harris?
Yes, it's just a matter of time before people start talking about the 22nd Amendment, and I think it's very important to stop this before it gets out of hand. Again, we've had presidents who were not articulate. Calvin Coolidge comes to mind. He was called Silent Cal. He was so parsimonious with words. We've had a president in Dwight Eisenhower who was, in my judgment, a tremendously effective president, but who was, shall we say, syntactically challenged when he was talking to the press. I'll tell you a story because it's relevant to what Mr. Biden was just going through with Taiwan. In the mid-1950s, when Taiwan was known as Formosa, there was a crisis in the Taiwan Straits. And before Dwight Eisenhower walked out into the room to take questions from the press, his press secretary, Jim Haggerty, said, "Try to avoid questions on this." Eisenhower looked at him sharply and said, "Don't worry, Jim, I'll confuse him." And I read this afternoon his answer to the question in 1955, and he did confuse them. But he did it purposefully. He had a knack for sort of gaseous verbal fog when necessary. But that's not what we're seeing with Mr. Biden. Again, Mr. Biden should just say there's some things I don't do well, and therefore I'm not going to do them at all. And town halls would be one of those things.
That would be true. This tweet caught our eye in terms of whether or not it matters politically. Christopher Cadelago writing, maybe the biggest story in American politics is one number, 88. That's the partisan gap in Joe Biden's approval rating, the largest it's been for him so far, among the largest in more than 8 decades of Gallup measurement of presidential approval. Does that translate to, because he is not Donald Trump, Joe Biden will forever get a pass from Democrats?
I think that's right. I think what we're seeing in the Virginia gubernatorial race is the Democrats have one theme right now, which is Donald Trump is in the wings. Donald Trump is to be afraid of, is to be feared. Beware. That's not much of an agenda, and we're going to see on election night in a few weeks how that translates in Virginia in November. But the fact is that Donald Trump is not a program for the Democrats. And this gap that you point out, an astonishing gap in some ways in the polling, would, I think, be exactly what it is if Joe Biden were performing with the rhetorical nimbleness of a John Kennedy or a Ronald Reagan.
Well, we'll leave it there because Virginia is where we are headed next. George, thank you as always for the perspective.
Glad to be with you.
Good to see you, sir.
President Biden.